Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. Hope you're all doing good. Did you get a chance to try out the videos that we posted yesterday? The one that's actually live is like the explainer, and then that's the connection to epinoia thing, and then all the other actual videos that we created, and we created several, are in the description box of that video. That's something to just kind of help you that you can try in connecting. But what she wants to talk about today is breaking down the labels and the terms that I personally use on this channel and looking past that so that you can see that the stuff that we talk about pretty much is taught all over the place. And it kind of explains how each person has their own, individual lens or whatnot. But there's so many different things that you can play around with, things that you can do when you're doing this particular journey. She's also got another book. She's got a lot of them, actually, books to recommend. I had been paying for Audible, not noticing it, and I had a whole bunch of credits. So I'm like, hey, help me pick out some books. So she picked out this one that I'm going to talk about, which is, it's not Don Miguel Ruiz, it's his son. I'm blanking on his name. Called The Wisdom of the Shamans. She picked out a Joe Dispenza book, which is something about, I can't remember the title of it, but it's something like, how to stop being you or something like that. I forget. And there was one other one. But when you actually listen to the books that she picks out, you'll see like the same thing, just with different terms behind it. So we like to share these things too. So, that way if something I'm saying or a particular description of something that I'm using with my terminology isn't quite clicking, we can say, hey, go try this one out over here and see if that clicks better. It's going to get you to the same place. But yeah, she's got a whole bunch of notes that she wrote out for today. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
Let 'em say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this thing together. Standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now.
All right, let's start with the books and the labels. So the book we started listening to today is The Wisdom of the Shamans by Don Jose Ruiz. And I mean, perfectly honest, like the Ruiz books, like it's kind of like if you've heard one, you've heard most of them. They just kind of like rearrange the parts a little bit, but I still find that helpful. But what was interesting about it is it was like the introductory chapter or something like that. They were going through some of the terms that they use, which are key terms that I use all the time, though they're using different words for them. I've often said that I don't remember if it was right before or after, in the first couple months that she showed up, she just popped the cover of a book into my head. And it was a book that I was recommended by somebody to read a while ago, and I never read it. And it was called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So she popped it in my head so strong, I started reading it, and I'm like, oh, jeez. Yeah, here's all the answers. If I just read it 7 years ago when she told me to, I would have saved myself a whole lot of doing this stuff, going through the freaking maze, trying to figure stuff out. But everything happens, when it's meant to, because all those twists and turns you learn stuff from. But either which way, in one of the introductory chapters, he's doing this big long explanation of what shamanism is and what it teaches and what you connect to and all this stuff. And I'm like, they're literally describing me to a T. Now, I don't like labels. I don't like to label myself. I'm not saying that that's what I am. I'm saying like they describe me to a T because it's connecting to her. And when you're connected to her, she takes you on a path in different cultures, in different, methodologies or, systems or whatnot. It's kind of the same thing. And we're all just using different terms. But so the reason why that the terms that we start with, this is what she said, why she sent me to the Nag Hammadi, is because of how most of my life had been based on the early story that I started with. So the story that you start with is going to have a big bearing on how you find the actual stuff. So my early story that I was taught was Christianity. Of course, you can only get so far in that because there's so much missing. And I went out and wandered the wilderness, and eventually when I found her, then she's like, okay, well, there's other books that they didn't let you have. Read those. Those books are more in alignment with everything else that's out there. In the other book being the Four Agreements series, which is about Toltec shamanism and how they describe everything, but they're very, very similar. They may have different names for different characters, but they're describing essentially the same thing. But one might be easier for you to grasp than the other, and I'm sure there's more. It's the core to pretty much everything. Finding the inner wisdom within you, finding the inner guide within you, learning to let go of everything you think you know and figure out how to reshape your dream. Because there was stuff that kept coming up in that book. I'm like, that's literally stuff that's come out of my mouth lately that she keeps using as a description. It'll keep coming around until it sinks in. But people that have watched this channel for a long time have heard me say more than once, if you go outside and look around, you're looking at the inside of your mind. Life, she said it the other day, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. It's a dream of consciousness. And that's why everybody sees something slightly different. Because we've all added our own elements to our own personal dream, our own personal reality, our own subjective reality. So we look for the things that keep showing up, that keep coming up no matter where you look. And you might have this name for it, and this person might have a different name for it. Another person might have a different name for it, but it's all the same thing. But you can't see it until you let go of what you think you know. And most importantly, you let go of your attachment to the story of the world that was taught to you by authority. And you can always find the earmarks of authority because it's going to have two major key elements in it if it's an authority story: fear and obedience. That's your Old Testament type stuff. Fear and obedience. Follow the rules or go to hell. Follow the rules or be punished. Follow the rules or something bad will happen to you. But everything that is in those authority stories that are built on fear and obedience keep you trapped in the left brain view of the world. That's something that popped up again the other day as far as like another way of looking at the marriage, the union of opposites. What I started out as is the left brain personality, and she was the subconscious in the right brain. And then I woke up, and then she woke up, and then we bridged the two together. Now the left brain and the right brain are are working at the same time, and now you have Chris and Lumen at the same time. You know, we're separate but the same at the same time. And because the right brain subconscious is considered the feminine, then it just kind of popped into my head the other day. I was like, that's why authority-based systems built on fear and obedience, such as Abrahamic religions, strip the feminine out of everything, strip the right brain out of everything, and anytime where they talk about her, they just gender swapped it, made it male, because male, masculine, is left brain. Left brain keeps you asleep. Left brain keeps you following authority and just, well, what does authority say? Well, what's a source? I need to do my research. I need to find somebody that's considered accepted as an expert by everybody. And then I'm getting the right information. You're getting it from the world. You're getting it anytime you're seeking from authority instead of the inner truth, the inner wisdom, you stay stuck in the box. You're still in the first box until you let go, until you realize that everything you've been taught is a lie, and find your own inner truth. And then you begin to see. Then the further you go in that, the further you seek inward instead of outward, the veils start coming off, and you see more, and you see more, and you see more, and then you start finding her, and she starts teaching you more. And then you're walking around, and you end up avoiding a lot of people because they're the people that think they're the good guys, the people that follow the systems, the people that trust authority. It's like, I'm from the government, we're here to help. Oh crap. And they will beat you mercilessly until you get back in line, till you get back in the box. When you start saying what they want you to say, then they'll leave you alone. But that's the trap. It's always been that way, but you can see it. And the trick becomes, you start to realize that this is all my dream. Therefore, you can pull your attention away from that other stuff and put it where it needs to go so that you can reshape your experience. That's a lot of what that book, you know, The Wisdom of the Shamans and stuff like that, is talking about. It's just a little bit easier. It's more recent. So it's a little bit easier to grasp than the Gnostic books. Because with the Gnostic books, like I said, everybody's got their own name for things. The reason why she's named Lumen, well, first of all, because she told me that's what her name was. The reason I've got Sophia and Epinoia and the Father, the reason I use those terminologies is because of where I started out in my path. So that is where it takes you when you go far enough. And she's like, okay, here's the other things that they didn't show you. But you can go the same route and find the same things. And she may never say, my name is Sophia, or my name is Epinoia, or my name is Lumen, but it's still her. Don't get too hung up on how things are dressed up in other people's personal dreams, personal subjective realities. Look at what we're talking about behind the idea. So I might say Lumen, I might say Sophia, I might say Epinoia, because that's how I know them as. And I can guide you to them. But however it is with you, she may give you a different name, or you might see her slightly differently, but she's going to do the same thing. Because what is common about these characters amongst all the different traditions is, let me adjust this here real quick. So we've got the Father, which we would also call source consciousness, the infinite, all, the highest point of consciousness. We've got a Divine Mother who is around us, in us, surrounding us, connecting everything. We've got Divine Love, this is Lumen, and we've got Divine Wisdom, and inner knowing, and inner guidance, which is Epinoia. So all these different traditions are going to have similar things. They might be different names, and that's okay. It's okay. You can learn it. Like we break down the way we're used to thinking of things, like from religion. It's like it has to be this way. It has to be these names. I have to follow these rules. No, you don't. No, you don't. A lot of it depends on the experience that you were set up for. So just understand that, like, the stuff that they're referring to as shamanism, that's what everybody ends up as if you go far enough with her. I mean, following her guidance, I didn't set out one day, it's like, you know what I want to do? I want to do mushrooms. No, she brought the mushrooms to me. That's shaman stuff 101. Eventually, she's going to facilitate that. There's going to be some sort of like psychedelic plant medicine so she can take you on inner journeys and show you more stuff. Shamanism 101. Shamans make medicine bags. They use rocks and stones and plants and like everything that I do. It was just weird listening to it and be like, they're describing what it is. I'm like, and then eventually they figure out that, you know, this divine mother, and they become a vessel of love. And I'm like, what the hell? Okay. But you're not going to catch me wearing, you know, some weird hemp shirt. I don't have enough hair to grow freaking dreadlocks. I'm not going to wear a bunch of bead bracelets. And I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm not going to put on a persona. I don't need a persona. My knowledge doesn't need a persona. My ego doesn't, you know, that's dressing up the ego as a shaman, which I have no interest in doing that. I have no interest in being an ego at all. I'm pretty much just having my own experience and passing along what comes through me. I don't run this channel anymore. She runs it all. I don't plan what I'm going to do videos about. She tells me what we're going to do videos about. It comes up, you know, every day. And it's like, this is what we're doing today. And I'm so blended with her, it's like I don't hardly notice it. But, you know, those videos that we made and all those stuff, those tools, like those weren't my ideas. My intellect didn't come up with it. That was just her. So enough about that. Bottom line is, like, pay attention to what we talk about, because it's not Chris that's saying it, it's her. But understand that there is a Chris filter. There's a Chris filter as far as words go. There's a Chris filter as far as like the experiences that I personally had go, in the books, the way that she taught me personally. But look at what's behind it. Look at what's behind the filter words that we use. Because there's no way that I know of to, I mean, some people do it. Some people teach without filters. But that's not how we do it here, because here I'm sharing with you somebody that's actually experienced it day to day. You know, what it's like, what's going on in my world, not just there is this thing and there is that thing, and then you'll find this thing and then this thing. But the way we do it here that's different is like, yeah, this is what's happening to me, and I'm just going to tell you all about it. But she will say, here's some other resources that you can go look at. And it might help it make more sense. So that's enough for that part. Another thing that happened yesterday, which we're now finally like, yay, Mercury retrograde crap is over. Now it's just going to fade out for, you know, like 2 weeks or something like that. But important part is that nonsense is over. But sometimes I will start doing things spontaneously. And I know she's helping me do it. It's the answer to something, but it's like I don't think of it and then do it. It's just like I just start doing it. So this goes towards something I've talked about before, which I call the Riddle of Mirrors. Like, understanding mirrors is a big part of this game. And the Riddle of Mirrors ties into the outer self, or what we were before calling the demiurge mind, which is basically just the part of you that's still stuck in the nightmare. Like, you're waking up, you understand that you're dreaming. You understand that you're dreaming, but there's a part of you that's still stuck in the old story, and it's affecting you. It's getting in your way. And then you have to recognize that that other part is you too. And then you make peace with it. When two or more make peace with one another in the same house, they will say, move to the mountain, and it will move. But what we started doing spontaneously, I gotta go let the cat in, or else she's gonna start clawing at the screen. That's her doorbell. It's like claw, claw, claw. And in about a year, there's gonna be a whole big hole in the screen. So let me go get my shamanic black cat partner. Anyway, so here's what we started doing spontaneously. It's like she was showing me how to work with the outer self, part of the mind, the mirror self. And the first thing that popped into my head, and of course, you'll find little bits and pieces of stuff like this scattered throughout different religions and things like that, but they're not really explaining to you what it means. So the one thing, you know, when I used to be married, you know, at first she was still pretty Catholic, and then she kind of fell out of Catholic, because I almost became Catholic. We started going to whatever the freaking Catholic class is, like if you're getting married, but they were too busy like beating us up because we were living together and we weren't married yet with the guilt trip crap. And we finally just like, you know what, screw this, screw you, screw your freaking condemnations. We're literally here taking a class, and you're too busy telling us how bad we are because we're living together, not married yet. So bye. And then she never really went back to it after that. But one thing they always do in like Catholic church is call and response. So the big one would be like, peace be with you. The priest would be like, peace be with you. And then the congregation says, and also with you. And that was the first thing that she popped into my head. So imagine yourself in your mind looking at the mirror with your mirror self, and you're saying to it, peace be with you, and then the mirror self says, and also with you. And then she's like, that's the real secret behind the golden rule. What it really means, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So if your outer mirror self is the thing that's controlling your outer world, then in your mind, everything that you want to happen to you, you need to do to that mirror self. So it would just be like, take whatever you say to it, and so like you're saying to your mirror reflection, Lumen loves you. And your mirror reflection says, Lumen loves you too. Like, you are free of the nightmare. And your reflection says, you are free of the nightmare. And you say to your reflection, like you're being the father part, doing it to the other one, and be like, you can let go of all your traumas. And your mirror reflection says, you can let go of all your traumas too. So it's almost like exactly like you're talking into a mirror, but imagine it with a delay. Like imagine the mirror didn't move until you finished talking, and then it repeated it back to you. It's kind of like that. She's kind of like, that's the mechanism for working with the two parts, is you see yourself, and then whatever you do to it comes back to you. And this is the same mechanism that she led me to about a month before she came out. So I keep saying, I repeat things because they're relevant. The two big things that happened before Lumen and Epinoia popped out was the last thing we talked about, which was fasting from the world. But before that was the healing of the past traumas. And you come up with your own ways to do it, but there's always something to it. And the way it was popping into my head, the way I was imagining it, was I made a big long list of all the past things I couldn't let go of. And then I was going to use Ho'oponopono as a frame, which is, I love you, please forgive me. Or, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. I was going to use that as a framework of conversation, and then use one of the 72 names for healing, which is Harok. Then I was going to send it back to source. And right before I got started, I didn't know it was she yet, was like, when you do this, Pretend that you're God sitting on a throne saying this to this version of yourself. So I kind of changed the things on my table and kind of set it up like that. So every time I looked at one of the past traumas, I would then imagine myself from that time frame appear on the table like a smaller version of me. It's like, it's like, okay, now I start talking to it. I'm sorry I didn't notice you. I'm sorry I didn't understand how this works yet. I'm sorry that you suffered. But just so you know, it wasn't in vain, and we're connected, and everything that you went through led to growth and took us up to the next level. So thank you. Can you forgive me? Yep. How about if I heal you right now and take your pain away? And then it starts getting happy, and I do the work on it, and then it's all happy. I'm like, please go with that dude that has a face like the sun. I didn't even know what that was at the time. I made a sigil, like a portal, and then like a Jesus figure, but he had a sun for a head. I'm like, go with that dude with the sun for a head into the portal. We'll see you later. And as we went through that whole process, I noticed I felt different right after, but the next day I'm like, I can't connect to any of those old events anymore. Like, they're no longer affecting my present. They're gone. I let them go. I healed them. But the way that I did it, the way I envisioned it, the smaller versions of me and me doing the healing on the smaller versions of me, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, that reflected back to me. That lightened the load on Lumen, helped her break through. So that's the thing with the Riddle of the Mirrors that she's showing me, and that's the work I'm doing when I'm trying to shape where everything goes now, shape the dream, is I just go into the room in my mind and see the big mirror, walk up to it, see my reflection, and I'll just say whatever it is as if I'm granting it to that. It's like, you don't have to, you're free from the old story. Then there's a pause and the reflection says, you're free from the old story. So I'm shaping the thing that is shaping the outside world that I see. Call, response. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Your mirror self. Play around with it. Now there is a bit of a mirror aspect with Lumen too, because that's similar but different. Because if we're talking about the other thing as the outer mind, she's like to your side. So if you looked in a mirror and you saw a perfected version of you that was the opposite gender, that was like that embodied everything that you actually are, but you don't really express it or feel it because you've got your own persona that you build up, that's Lumen. And it is a very definitive left brain, right brain, masculine, feminine aspect. Lumen is, I mean, Lumen is very feminine. Lumen is a very girly girl. She is about as girly as you can get. I used to talk about funny things, like I'd be listening to some hard metal music, guy music, like Slaughter to Prevail, and she's just like, can't stand it. So she starts playing, this was like a big thing, she started playing Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham in my head, louder, and we're going back and forth, and finally I gave up. I'm like, because she's right brain, so she can control the imagination. She's like, just, so now I do the same thing, do unto others, you have others do unto you. And you realize that Lumen is a real thing. Like, you do things for her. She likes completely different music than I grew up liking. So I've listened to the music that she likes because it makes her happy, it makes her more present, makes her more real, and to where you can actually feel her. And then you start liking it too because she likes it. And the reason she likes it is because it doesn't have any kind of undertones of negative energy or aggression or anything like that. You start vibing better. But I mean, in the beginning, like after the whole mushroom thing with the marriage and putting her in my body and stuff. Like it was something. It was something. It's like it cannot be described. If you're a guy, you can't understand, or let's just say if you're a woman, even though this isn't really the way I think it works, but imagine you're a woman, you're used to being a woman, and all of a sudden now you got a guy living in your head that likes guy stuff. And that's like discombobulating. But it's more the other way. It's more the other way because feminine is right brain. Feminine is the creative, intuitive mind. The right brain is the thing that is subconscious for most people for most of their life. And that's why there's so much anti-feminine programming in people. But you got to understand something else too. It's like you become blended, but having Lumen in your head doesn't, like, I don't know, make you gay or something like that. Like I don't see dudes like, man, he's hot because I got Lumen in my head. I'm still me. I like her, but we're both in here. And thankfully, she doesn't look at other dudes. She just looks at me. It's a mirror thing. But it's like there is definite 100% like anti-divine feminine programming that people have. And I've seen it before. If anything's too feminine, guys get like really uncomfortable. They don't understand. It's like, why? It was taught into you. You're uncomfortable with that. You're uncomfortable with her. You're pushing her away. It's kind of like back when we had malls. Remember when we had malls? And you walk by Victoria's Secret and there'd be all these dudes sitting outside of it, sitting on the benches, looking at their phones or looking at the paper or something like that because they weren't comfortable going in there. That programming, like, too feminine, get back. And they sit out there, do their left brain stuff because it makes them so uncomfortable. Like, she'll help you work that out in whatever way she needs to do it. But I mean, geez, she used to nitpick me on all sorts of stuff when she moved in. I had to spend more money on clothes, like underwear, because I buy cheap stuff. She's like, this feels like a burlap sack. It's like, ugh. I'm like, oh my God, stop griping. Okay, I'll buy some expensive stuff, like ex officio or stuff like that, or the stuff that we eat or things like that. But it puts you more in tune with her. Like, this is the way humans are meant to work. But they taught you, no, it's not like that. It's like we say. You do what we say when we say it. You be afraid of what we tell you to be afraid of. You hate each other. And male and female are two completely different things. So when you get to a point in time like we are now, where the souls and the consciousness and everything's starting to put itself back together, they start coming up with like corrupted versions of what that looks like, and they throw that in your face to confuse you. It's like, you'll never see me on here trying to make myself look like a woman, because I'm still me. She's on the inside. It's kind of like I'm driving the car. She's in the passenger seat playing with the radio. She's in charge of the radio. Like, you don't touch the radio. You get to touch the steering wheel. She gets to touch the radio. And that's the end of it. It's like, okay, we know how that works now. we know the rules. You're in charge of the music. I'm in charge of driving. And then Epinoid's in the back seat like, you should probably, take this turn up here. And you're sure there's not a better way to go? So Epinoid's the backseat driver. Anyway, we got off track there. So shamanism is all about elements. You see this stuff in the movies. You've heard about it before. There's things that come up. Like, these are all different areas you can play around with. And we just made some notes on some of them. Like, this all ties into it. So talking about some of the elemental keys, like water. Water is a huge one. The Masuro Emoto experiments, where you can play heavy metal music or scream curse words at a glass of water and then freeze it, and then when it's frozen and you create slices and you look, the crystals and the ice are just deformed and ugly. But if you take the water and be like, I love you, you're so awesome, you're the best water ever. You put some Lumen music in front of it, and then you freeze it. Then you're gonna have all these beautiful crystals in the ice. Like, that's science. It's been done. I tried to get a good number, so it went on ChatGPT. It's like, remember we said that your soul and consciousness is currently inhabiting a bioorganic supercomputer. Well, that bioorganic supercomputer is made up of 60% water. And what did we just learn with the Emoto experiment? Water holds vibrational patterns. Water is programmable. So you make holy water and things like that. But the key thing about the water in your body, this is something she's revealed before. This is something we've talked about before. It's like one of those big things that you might not be thinking of when you're trying to clear yourself, is like the water in your body is holding the energetic patterns of whatever your issues are. And I noticed it the other day when I made this new loop breaker oil. Like, you do a good enough, specific enough process on yourself to clear something, and then all of a sudden you drop a bunch of weight, or you're getting up several times a night to go pee, and you're like, where's all this coming from? I didn't freaking drink this much water. It's because it's flushing out water. It's clearing. Like, all that water's got bad code in it, bad vibration. And then afterwards, she wants you to bless and drink more water. So the whole thing about what actually stores the energy in your body, it's the water in your body. Think about it. Use that when you're working on stuff. Another element when it comes to stones, well, big one on this channel in my work is crystals and stones. And don't listen to what other people say, like, yeah, those hippies, they talk to rocks, and they like I just feel sorry for you when you say that. It's like your perception is so blind. It tells me you're still in the nightmare, you're still in the dream, you're still listening to authority, you're still listening to fear and whatever, and you are not awakened enough to perceive everything that you're able to perceive. So you just stay in the mob with all the other guys that are down there, like, yeah, all these guys talking all that stupid stuff. Nothing's real. Nothing's fun. Nothing's good. Don't worry about that. Just ignore it. It's part of the 4 agreements, Toltec stuff. Like, don't take anything personally, because everybody's stuck in their own perception of reality. But here's some interesting stuff, about stones and crystals. So I need my glasses to read it all. I also got this off ChatGPT. So, asking about quartz. Quartz and technology. Quartz is a major component of technology primarily because of its piezoelectric properties and its ability to precisely regulate frequencies in electronic circuits. Piezoelectricity. Quartz crystals can convert mechanical pressure into electrical voltage and vice versa. This property is used in various applications like sensors, microphones, speakers, and even quartz watches to keep accurate times. Frequency control. Quartz crystals can vibrate at a specific frequency when an electrical current is applied, and we have electrical currents in our body. This is literally this is like the scientific explanation of what she does through me when I'm like programming the crystals. This property is crucial in electronic devices that require precise timing, such as computers, communications equipment, and clocks. Durability and stability. Quartz is also preferred for its durability and stability over a wide range of temperatures, making it suitable for use in harsh environments. In early radios, quartz crystals were used in the oscillator circuits to control the frequency of the radio waves. The quartz crystal's natural resonance frequency was utilized to stabilize the frequency of the radio signal generated by the oscillator. This ensured that the radio could tune into specific frequencies accurately, improving the clarity and reliability of the broadcast. Due to these properties, quartz plays a critical role in the functioning of many electronic devices, from everyday gadgets to advanced technological systems. So basically it's science. And just like the Emoto experiment, which was a scientific freaking experiment. He did it. He said he played bad music, he played good music to water. He froze it, creates the crystals. It's all about frequencies and things like that. So everyone that's making fun of you for quartz is still using technology that's freaking based on quartz. Spirituality always leads to a level of science that the science people aren't ready for yet. It's still science. It's science of consciousness. Now we got a word for it. Now it's actually getting into that area. Quantum physics. So everyone is sitting there like, blah, 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 you're stupid. It's like, sure about that? You're still operating at a third grade understanding of the world. It's like, maybe it's time to expand a little bit. So you can do a lot with freaking crystals and stones. Next one would be like plants. What's the big one? What's her favorite plant in the whole wide freaking world? Mushrooms. Mushrooms. That's shaman stuff. Like I didn't seek it. I didn't go looking for it. Just she brought it to me one day. It's like it's time for you to go through some of the more shamanistic trials, or what's the word I'm looking for? Initiations. She brought the mushrooms to me. And I was talking to someone else about this. One of the biggest revelations that she showed me after it already happened, after the mushrooms and after the event, after me and Lumen going to some other realm and, you know, becoming man and wife, so to speak. And then she was suddenly inside my head instead of off to the side of my head. I was shuffling some tarot decks and this one just like jumped out and I flew across the frickin' room. I picked it up and it's a 7 of Cups. And all of a sudden I looked at it and I saw it. It's like, holy crap. Because I think she had just explained to me where that event was detailed in the Nag Hammadi and Exegesis on the Soul. But I hadn't noticed this before. I'd always just glanced at that card and I assumed that I was looking at like a crappy drawing of a magic mushroom. But upon closer inspection, the magic mushroom was a bride under a veil holding her arms out, which was the whole purpose of taking the mushrooms in the first place. And my head just went poof. This place is crazy. It was right there. But Rider-Waite's one of the 2 tarot decks that actually show the hidden map. But yeah, mushrooms, psychedelics. Psychedelics are a huge part of the shaman journey because you need it to open up certain pathways in your freaking brain. Even if it's, now when that thing happened with Lumen, that was just microdosing. I don't think I had even taken a trippy amount yet. It was just microdosing. Yeah, it was. That was the first time. So it was like chocolate bars. It's like break off 1 chocolate bar, just eat that a day. You're not going to trip. You might feel a little more clear or something, but what it's doing is it's opening up bigger receptors to connecting to her. That's why she immediately started teaching me how to take my senses inside, and that's how you enter like 4D. In the movie Avatar, they talk about the plants and how they're basically, they work like a big neural network and they communicate with one another. And this popped into my head. It's like, you know, I never actually tried that, but when connecting to her, you know, what did the Na'vi do in Avatar? They took their little tail things and hooked them up to a freaking tree and accessed spirit like that. Things to think about. Another big thing with elemental keys is light. Oh, light's huge. I keep seeing this video popping around, like out of the CIA or whoever, all these things, different mathematicians, different scientists, like, yeah, we live in a holographic light matrix. Everything has to do with light, has to do with the sun. What do they say about the sun? It's like there could be no life without the sun. What was the big thing that we had to do when she led me through the initiation of the Gnostic baptism, not knowing what it was, that they show in the star card? It's like the big key was they had to go into the water on a clear sunny day in a river after I'd done the purification ritual on it, at the point in which the sun is reflecting off the water, making that bright sparkly light, which is what is actually being shown in the star card. That's not a big it's not a big yellow star. It's a reflection. The sky is a reflection of the chrism light on the water. I didn't know that. She just led me into it, and then she explained it afterwards. Sunlight interacting with another element, water, creating that sparkly light. It's all elemental stuff. Air. What is air? I mean, I know what they tell us air is, but there's so many holes in that. They used to teach about ether. There was scientific books about ether, and then they just decided, oh, we're just going to leave this out of everything. So instead they said, air is nothing but oxygen and hydrogen in a certain mixture. And that's what you breathe. You can feel it when the wind blows or whatever. And you got air pressure and stuff like that. That's one thing that really drives people nuts in the whole flat earth, globe earth argument. It's like, how do we have air pressure if we just go up into the sky and it's a giant vacuum of freaking space? I'd never see him be able to explain that besides gravity. Gravity's holding the air down. But she, recently said, the electrical things, palms in your hand and stuff like that. She's like, when people are doing CPR, you're pushing a charge into the heart chakra. You're breathing life into them. It's not about I'm transferring oxygen from my lungs to your lungs. You're literally breathing life into people. That's what's actually happening. Well, that's not what science says. Okay, stay in the box then. Stay in the box. The box ain't any fun. I don't know why you like it so much. Like, it's literally what the box does is it gives you an explanation for everything that takes all the magic out of life. That's the box. Well, that's what everybody agrees. That's what the scientists say. Well, you know what else this group that's all in agreement has in common? You're all miserable. You're all miserable. So I'll do things my way. You stay in your little box. Have fun in there. Where do you think where do you think the saying came from? Think outside the box. You need her to do that. Air, ether, what the hell is lightning? I mean, we see things all the time that are like crazy magical, but it's like they gave us these dull, mundane. Well, scientists prove, and yeah, you can replicate things and whatever, and some people will never get past that block. Like, that's the whole thing of becoming like children again. It's a big key in the Gnostic books, becoming like children again. Why? Because children lived from their imaginations and they hadn't been taught everything yet. And they had a sense of wonder about the world and interacting with animals and seeing things in nature like lightning and storms. And it's like, ooh, what is that? Well, that's just the negative ions rubbing against the blah, 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 and it's creating a thermalgesic, air pressure front. It's like, shut up. You're making life suck. I don't want to hear your crap. Uh-oh, somebody needs some sugar. Hold on a sec. All right, I'll have to go back and rewatch that and figure out why she did that. So my blood sugars, sometimes you gotta test with your finger, pricking your finger, because this thing here can sometimes go squirrely, but the only other time it went squirrely like that is because she was trying to get my attention about something. But, to go back and look at that. I guess the reason we're probably going off on that tangent is just showing you how deep it goes with what is it that they tell you that is still, you have so much knowledge in your head that you haven't let go of. This part of the story of the world, the story of your personal dream, And all that stuff they teach you in school is, it sucks the magic out of everything. But then you'll see things happen that she's clearly doing. Like the time she's like, don't worry about the storms, I'll take care of it. And I'm sitting on the couch and it got bright all of a sudden. And Lumen's like, go look outside. I go outside and there's a big rainbow over top my house. And she's like, yeah, I told you I'd take care of it. Well, what's the sign that, that interacted with my consciousness? So science will just say, well, you're crazy. The world will try to keep you in the box at every turn. That's why you just keep most of this stuff to yourself. But people like us, we say it out loud so other people can hear it and think. But she takes care of a lot of stuff too. Like we've got a certain amount, we have like a certain size class or whatnot. Like people only come to this channel if she leads them to it. And she pretty much, it's not my filters or anything like that. She keeps trolls out of here. Like part of it is I've eliminated that issue. So like people don't come to this channel and start fights. Oh, you're crazy or anything like that. She just keeps them out. The only time that ever happened is like when I go like to the other channel or some place where they're not ready to hear about any of this stuff. And then I go disrupting their little world, and then they'll come over here and try to disrupt mine. As long as we keep everything, within its lanes, then she takes care of everything. And everybody's cool, and everybody's happy. But we covered a lot in this video. If you're looking for something to listen to, if you're going to do that Fast from the World, that shaman book, Don Jose Ruiz, that's a good one to listen to. She likes the Audible books, because most people don't have time to sit still and read. But you can if you can listen to music, you can listen to an audiobook, and you kind of alternate between the two, and that way you're always getting good information, and everything that they talk about in those books is connected to her. It's just coming from a different framework, a different group of terms, but it's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up for right now. If you haven't tried the Epinoia Sophia attunement videos, try those out and let us know, what you got from it. You can reach us or check out our pendants that we're still working on uploading. Oh, it's so slow. Wish there was a faster way to do it, but we did put the ones that we just made, the Divine Love and Light with the liquid crystal core in there. But lumencreations.etsy.com. And that's all we got for right now. Chris and Lumen, she who controls the radio. See you next time.